There is a weariness that runs deeper than tired muscles or restless nights. It settles quietly in the heart, a heaviness that no amount of rest seems to touch. This kind of tiredness is not simply about the body's need for sleep. It is a soul weighed down by burdens too heavy to carry alone. It is the quiet ache of a spirit longing for relief, a gentle cry beneath the noise of daily demands. Today we will walk slowly into that sacred space where your tiredness speaks a language often overlooked, a message from your soul and from God, inviting you to lay down what is not yours to bear. In this quiet reflection, there is an ancient, comforting truth. You were never meant to carry these burdens by yourself. The invitation is to cast them gently into the hands of the one who sustains the weary and restores the faint. Through soft, sacred truths rooted in Scripture, you will find the beginning of rest, not just for your body, but for your spirit. There is healing here, a tender whisper that your tiredness has meaning, that it can be the doorway to a deeper peace you have longed for without knowing. Let this be a moment where you feel seen, not just as a tired person, but as one chosen and known deeply by God, whose grace is enough even in your weakness. As we move through this reflection, may your heart find a quiet courage to release what weighs you down and discover the rest that goes beyond mere sleep, the rest that only God can give. There is a weight carried in silence, a heaviness that settles quietly upon the soul long before it touches the body. This burden is not always visible, yet it shapes the very rhythm of breath and the stillness of the heart. Often this weariness comes from holding too much, too many worries, too many hopes, too many sorrows that were never meant to rest in human hands. The spirit grows tired not simply from labor or loss, but from trying to bear what only God can carry. It is a subtle thief, this silent loading of burdens, creeping in when trust grows thin and the heart feels the desperate need to control, to fix, to shield what cannot be shielded by human strength. There is a sacred invitation whispered through the ages, a gentle command to cast every burden, every anxious weight upon the Lord. The psalmist's words come like a balm: cast your burden on the Lord, and he will sustain you. This is not just a call to give up what is too heavy. It is a divine promise that there is one who stands ready to carry what we cannot. The soul is not meant to carry these loads alone. When the spirit tries, it bends under the pressure and grows weary, its light dimming like a candle fighting a fierce wind. Yet when those burdens are laid down, something unseen begins to shift. A quiet strength rises where weakness once ruled. The heart breathes again. It is a soft surrender, not of giving up in defeat, but of trusting in a love that holds more than the mind can grasp. To cast burdens upon God is to rest in His faithfulness, knowing that the weight we cannot carry is safe in His hand. Weariness often signals that the soul has forgotten this sacred truth. The struggle to bear it all is a sign that the heart is not resting where it was designed to rest. In the quiet moments of surrender, the spirit finds space to heal and to grow strong once more. The heaviness begins to lift, not by human effort, but by a divine sustaining that does not fail. This is the gentle turning point, the place where the soul begins to let go, where the restless grasp loosens. The invitation remains constant: release what burdens your spirit. In doing so, a new rhythm is found, one marked not by striving, but by a deep, sustaining peace. The Lord's promise endures through every weary night and every heavy dawn. He is the one who holds the weight of the world, and in His hands the spirit finds its rest. Rest is woven into the very fabric of creation, a quiet gift placed gently by the hand of God. Yet there are seasons when rest feels distant and strange, as if it has slipped beyond reach like a fading melody. The body may lie down and close its eyes, but the soul remains unsettled, restless in ways that sleep cannot soothe. This deeper longing is the ache of a soul yearning for the Sabbath, a sacred pause that the Creator designed, not as a burden, but as a gift of holy peace. It is a rest unlike any other, a rest that goes beyond the simple closing of eyelids or the slowing of breath. It is a sanctuary where the spirit finds renewal and quiet strength. The ancient call to enter into God's rest is not just a matter of time or routine. It is an invitation into a divine presence that calms the heart and renews the weary soul. When the Sabbath fades from the rhythm of life, the spirit becomes like dry land, craving the gentle rains of peace and stillness. This rest is more than physical ease. It is a spiritual breathing space, a refuge where the noise of the world quiets, and the soul can simply be with God. The Creator's own example shows this sacred rhythm. After the work of creating the world, God rested, not out of weariness, but to bless the pause, to set it apart as holy. When rest becomes unfamiliar, it may be a sign that the soul's deepest needs have been overlooked. A holy rest calls for surrender, a letting go of striving and worry, trusting instead in the faithful care of the one who made all things. This rest restores the spirit, mending the frayed edges of a tired heart. It renews hope and stirs a quiet joy that cannot be found in worldly distraction. The Sabbath rest is a sacred space where healing begins, where the soul is reminded that life is not merely about doing, but about being held, being loved, being renewed. The longing for this kind of rest is a gentle tug from God's heart to ours. It invites a slowing down, a stepping away from the endless rush, and a turning toward the presence of the one who offers peace. In this rest, the soul is refreshed and made whole. It is the place where the tired spirit learns to trust again, to find strength, not in its own effort, but in the gentle stillness of God's love. This is the rest that truly satisfies, a quiet refuge for a weary heart, an oasis of peace in the midst of life's demand. There are times when the heart feels dry, as if the well of prayer has run low and words fall flat against a silent sky. The soul reaches out calling for comfort, for answers, but finds only stillness in response. This dryness is not a sign of God's absence, nor a mark of rejection. Rather, it is a quiet invitation to a deeper kind of seeking, one that moves beyond the words spoken and the hopes expressed. In the silence where prayers seem unanswered, God's presence is often closest, calling the soul to trust beyond what can be seen or heard. Spiritual dryness is a sacred space where longing deepens. The soul feels a hunger that earthly things cannot satisfy, a thirst that reaches toward the heart of God itself. It is a season that can feel lonely, but it is not without purpose. In this place, the Spirit invites a new kind of faith, a faith that holds on when words fail, that listens without expectation, that waits without demand. The silence is not empty. It is filled with the quiet breath of God, a presence that does not shout but whispers in stillness. This longing is a sign of intimacy yet to be discovered. Just as the desert blooms after the rain, the soul too can be renewed after seasons of dryness. The psalmist's own cries of longing show us that feeling distant or unheard is part of the journey, not the end of it. It is the call to come closer, to seek God not only in answered prayers, but in the waiting, in the quiet, in the stillness where words fade away. Trust grows in these moments, a trust that God's love does not depend on our feelings or our ability to understand. It rests in the assurance that even when the heart is dry, God's faithfulness remains. This is a time to hold gently to hope, to lean into the silence, with the knowledge that God's presence is never truly gone. It is a sacred waiting room, a space where the soul learns to listen with new ears and to rest in a love that speaks without words. The dryness may feel like a desert, but it is also the soil from which a deeper intimacy can grow. It calls the soul to let go of needing to control or to understand, and to rest in the mystery of God's abiding presence. In this place, prayer becomes not only asking, but simply being held, being known, being loved beyond measure. Sometimes the heaviness that settles deep within the heart is not just weariness, but a quiet plea for forgiveness. This tiredness carries with it the weight of wounds left open and judgments held too tightly toward oneself or others. These burdens are unseen but no less real, pressing down on the soul until strength feels drained and hope grows faint. The spirit grows weary not only from what is done, but from what remains undone in the heart. The sharp edges of unforgiveness cut deep, slowly stealing the breath of peace that God longs to give. In the stillness, clarity may begin to arise like a soft dawn, breaking through a long night. This silence reveals the hidden places where pain lingers, where bitterness and regret have taken root. It shows the heart's need not just for rest but for release. Grace is the gentle hand extended in these moments, an invitation to let go of the heavy stones carried too long. It offers a way out of the prison built by anger, shame, or guilt. In mercy there is healing, a quiet mending that begins when forgiveness flows freely, both toward others and toward oneself. The call to forgiveness is never easy. It asks the heart to open when it feels most fragile, to step into vulnerability without fear. But it is in this openness that true rest is found. The Spirit moves gently, softening the hardness of judgment and loosening the grip of pain. Forgiveness is not forgetting or excusing wrongs, but a surrender that frees the soul from being chained to the past. It creates room for new life, for light to enter where darkness once held sway. God's mercy is endless, reaching into every broken place with a love that heals and restores. This mercy invites the weary to lay down their burdens, to exchange the heavy weight of unforgiveness for the lightness of grace. The tiredness begins to lift as the soul breathes again, learning to trust in a love that covers all wounds. In the tender exchange of forgiveness, strength returns not as the world gives, but as the Spirit renews from within. Here in this sacred space of release, the soul finds a deep peace that surpasses understanding. The weariness that once felt like a prison becomes a doorway to freedom, and the heart, once heavy, begins to beat with hope anew. There is a quiet whisper that often goes unnoticed, a gentle nudge from God that calls the soul back to the path it was meant to walk. When life drifts away from this purpose, the spirit grows tired in ways that rest cannot mend. Exhaustion settles like a shadow, not merely from effort, but from the distance between where the heart is and where it was made to be. The weariness is not just of the body, but of a soul longing for alignment with the divine design, written deep within. Walking out of step with this purpose creates a tension inside, a subtle dissonance that wears down the spirit. The daily tasks and responsibilities may fill the hours, yet the heart remains unsettled, restless beneath the surface. The soul's longing for meaning is not a fleeting wish, but a sacred cry for connection to what is true and lasting. When this call is ignored or buried beneath other concerns, fatigue follows as a faithful companion, signaling that something vital has been lost. The scriptures offer a promise that speaks tenderly to this truth. Those who delight in the Lord find their strength renewed, a strength that carries them forward without weariness or fainting. This is not the strength of human effort alone, but a life infused with God's presence, a wellspring of grace that sustains through every trial and season. Delight in the Lord is an alignment of heart and purpose, a rest in the truth that we are held and led by a loving hand. In the quiet moments when the noise of the world fades, the soul can listen for this whisper. It is the voice of God gently drawing the heart home, back to the rhythm of divine intention. The path may not always be clear, but the promise remains. Those who seek and find their delight in God will be strengthened beyond their own understanding. The spirit will rise with renewed vigor, able to run without weariness, because it is carried by a love that never fails. This subtle call invites a gentle turning inward, a willingness to lay aside distractions and false direction. It is an invitation to return to the heart's true home, where purpose and peace meet. In this place, tiredness begins to dissolve, replaced by a quiet energy born of alignment with God's will. The soul breathes more freely, walking with a sure step because it has found its way back to the path that leads to life. There is a weariness that runs deeper than tired limbs or restless nights, a loneliness that seeps into the soul, leaving it parched and empty. This kind of longing is not always for company, nor simply the presence of others, but for connection with the living God. Rest alone cannot satisfy this hunger, for the soul craves something more profound than the fleeting comfort of human touch or word. It thirsts for communion with the one who made it, a presence that fills every emptiness and breathes life into the dry places within. Loneliness carries its own kind of exhaustion, a heavy shadow that wears down the heart even in the midst of crowds. It is the sense of being unseen, unheard, or misunderstood, not just by people but in the deepest places where God's Spirit longs to meet us. This hunger is a sacred invitation to come closer, to open the heart fully to the God who never turns away. The Spirit quietly calls the soul into communion, into a place of deep connection, where loneliness fades and love remains. In this communion there is a gentle reminder that no one is truly alone. God's presence surrounds and upholds even when the world feels cold and distant. This presence is not distant or indifferent, but near and tender, reaching into every hollow place. It is the living breath of the Spirit, drawing the soul into a dance of love and belonging that surpasses all human understanding. To commune with God is to find a home for the heart, a refuge where weariness is met with compassion and the deepest longings are satisfied. This connection is not something to be earned or achieved, but a gift freely given to those who open themselves to it. The Spirit invites the weary to rest not only in the stillness of sleep, but in the warm embrace of divine friendship. It is here that the soul finds restoration and strength, a renewing of hope that no earthly comfort can provide. The hunger for connection becomes a pathway to healing, a journey toward wholeness that begins when the heart turns toward God's unfailing presence. In this sacred union, tiredness begins to lift. The soul is nourished and refreshed, no longer starving for what it was made to receive. The living God meets the lonely heart, filling it with light and life. And in that filling, the spirit is awakened to a peace that carries beyond the limits of human touch, resting deeply in the quiet assurance of never being alone. Weariness often carries with it a quiet invitation, an invitation to surrender, to lay down the restless striving, and to trust even when the path is unclear. There are moments when the soul grows tired not because of failure, but because it longs to let go of control and lean wholly into the hands of God. This surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a sacred art, a gentle release of the need for immediate answers or swift resolution. It asks the heart to trust the slow unfolding of God's timing and to rest in the assurance that grace is enough. The words of the Apostle Paul come as a soft comfort here. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. These words do not promise an easy journey, but they offer a strength that quietly grows in the places where human effort fades. When the soul is weak, when answers are delayed and burdens feel heavy, God's power does not fail. It unfolds gently, like dawn breaking through the darkest night, bringing light and hope that cannot be hurried or forced. Surrender is learning to be still when the heart wants to race, to be patient when the mind seeks quick solution. It is an act of trust, of faith that holds on even when the future is uncertain. In this sacred letting go, the soul finds rest, not a restless waiting, but a peaceful confidence that God is working in ways unseen. The tiredness may be a sign that the heart is ready to release its grip and to open to the grace that sustains even in the midst of waiting. There is a deep beauty in this weakness, a hidden strength that emerges when the soul admits its need for God's power rather than its own. It is here that healing begins, in the quiet surrender of the weary heart. The invitation is to lay down burdens without knowing exactly what will come next, trusting that God's grace will carry through every uncertainty. In this surrender, the spirit is renewed. The weight of striving lifts, replaced by a steady peace that anchors the soul. It is a sacred rhythm of trusting and resting, of letting go and being held. The power that perfects weakness is not distant but near, quietly weaving strength through the very places where the heart feels most fragile. And so, in the gentle unfolding of grace, the tired soul learns the art of surrender, and finds that in letting go it is held more deeply than ever before. Weariness can often feel like a barren place, a dry soil where nothing seems to grow. Yet beneath that surface, hidden from sight, something tender is taking root. The tiredness that weighs down the spirit may be the beginning of a slow and sacred transformation. Like a seed planted deep within the earth, faith is quietly growing, even when it feels unseen and small. This growth asks for patience, a gentle waiting that trusts God's timing, which often moves in ways beyond human sight. In the waiting, the soul learns to rest in hope, not the restless hope that demands immediate change, but a calm assurance that the Spirit is at work within. The changes within may be subtle, barely noticeable in the daily moments, yet they are powerful and life-giving,
Strength is being formed in the places of weakness. New trust in God's faithfulness is being planted, and a deeper peace begins to take root in the heart. The process unfolds slowly, as all things of lasting worth do, inviting the weary soul into a rhythm of patient surrender and quiet expectancy. This hidden growth is a mystery woven with grace. It teaches the soul that not all progress is visible or quick. Sometimes the deepest work is done beneath the surface, in the silent spaces of prayer, in the moments of surrender, in the waiting through the night. The Spirit moves gently and steadily, crafting a faith that will endure storms and challenges, because it is rooted in God's unchanging love. This faith is being nurtured in the very soil of weariness, transforming tiredness into strength and struggle into quiet hope. There is a sacred beauty in this slow unfolding, a reminder that God's work in us is not hurried or forced, but tender and deliberate. The soul learns to trust even when the future is uncertain, and to rest in the assurance that what is unseen is no less real. This patience becomes an act of faith itself, a choosing to believe that the Spirit's work is present and active, even when it cannot yet be seen. In this way, the weariness is not a sign of defeat, but a sacred space where new life begins. It is the place where old burdens fall away, and new strength is born. The tired soul is being shaped and renewed, held in the loving hands of God, who promises to complete the good work begun with it. And so in the quiet waiting and gentle trusting, faith grows, slowly, patiently, surely, bringing with it a hope that will not fade. In the stillness of this moment, may your weary heart find gentle rest. Weariness is not the end, but often the beginning of a deeper journey, a journey toward grace, healing, and renewed strength. Let the quiet truth settle within you. You are held tenderly by a love that never lets go. Even in your tiredness, you are not alone. There is peace waiting to meet you, and hope quietly growing beneath the surface. May this truth bring calm to your soul and light to your path. If this reflection has touched something within you, and you feel drawn to walk more gently in faith and rest, it would mean a quiet blessing to have you with us here. You are always welcome to like this video and join our community by subscribing, so together we may continue to seek peace and strength in the love of God.